She takes a chug and thinks it's the worst thing she's ever put in her mouth.
Oh my God, it is the worst thing I've tasted in my entire life.
And I'm not going to go there. This is YouTube. Just leave it to your imagination as to the worst thing she's ever put in her mouth. Moving on. They get. Nasty Lois. Nasty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver and Sensational. I am Lois Mills, the I, welcoming you and telling you today we're going to have yet another rip-roaring review of the latest episode of the Golden Bachelorette. But before I get into that, I just want to thank all of you for bringing our show up to 1,000 subscribers.
Yay!
It's been a long haul, but my loyal watchers and new people, I so appreciate your coming on board, the time you're taking to watch us and to subscribe, and especially for all the comments you've been making. I love reading them and replying, so just keep it up. So now I will get right into the meat of things about last night's Golden Bachelorette. 4 hometown dates. We start with Guy and end with who else? Chalk. God help us with Chalk. So Joan meets Guy in Lake Tahoe and they go out on the boat and God, she just loves the water and he just loves the water. And now they're going to make a wish and they have little rocks. Now I'm doing this because I feel like I'm talking about 2 children. He's smitten and she's all excited and she just loves the water and and they have these 2 rocks. Okay. So now he throws a rock in and says, my wish. And I thought you weren't supposed to say your wish if you're wishing for something, but his wish was to have someone in his life to love. I'm paraphrasing. And then when she throws her rock in, she wants someone she can spend the rest of her life with. Well, that's ironic since they're on a program that they're supposed to be finding someone to spend the rest of their life with. So anyway, I think most of her wishes already been satisfied with what started out to be 24 candidates. But who am I to say? I guess I'm just this realist. And again, let me just remind you, I take notes. So every now and again, you're going to see me pop on my glasses or look down. So just bear with me. So they moved from Lake Tahoe to this house in Reno because I'll remind you, he's the ER doctor who's in Reno in the court. Now this is the part I find really interesting. So they're going to his home and, there's all kinds of family there.
Hi, everybody. I don't know what.
He's speaking in the background and he's saying, get this. He really needs his family to explain to him the feelings he is having. Are you for real? I mean, you need your family, your kids, your siblings to tell you what you are feeling, explain to you, and to validate that Joan is right for him. That's pretty damn, I don't know, Joan. I'm not sure that this is the guy if he needs to have his family explain his feelings to him. But, Joan loves every family she meets. And of course, everybody loves Joan and the families and the friends, they really want the Bachelor to really be happy. But I'm not sure that this has to be part of the program. I guess maybe it does because, we're talking about older people who have, I'm going to say the word baggage. Not that family is baggage, but, families do need to meld together when, you're older and you're getting married for the 2nd or 3rd time. So it is important that the families do approve of the person you're bringing in. And one of the things I found really interesting in all 4 families is that everybody loved Joan. And I've got to say, I don't think that always happens in all families. Joan's take on Guy is, or her, how she feels with guys, that he makes her feel vulnerable. I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Each of these people are talking about guarding their hearts. They've been hurt. I'm rambling. I know that I'm rambling, but it really, 90 minutes of this really starts to get to you because it really is so repetitive. So he makes her feel vulnerable. Okay, I've got to move on from that because I want your opinions. I can't put my finger on why her feeling vulnerable. I thought she felt vulnerable with all of them. I mean, but let me move on from that. Maybe when we get further on, I can discuss more of it because I do want to give you an overview of all 4 hometown visits and then talk about what they all seem to have in common. So from after she leaves Reno, she moves on to Chicago for Pascal.
Listen to Palace, wait until.
And Pascal is very excited to see her. And, Pascal likes to be little boy, did you miss me? And, which I find like a little, I don't know, coming out of Pascal, because he seems so childlike in many ways, maybe because he likes to have a lot of fun, that if that came out of Chuck's mouth, I'd get like annoyed. But coming from Pascal, it seems like, like he's looking for validation, like he's this little puppy that needs to have his head patted. He takes her to his salon, which is really buzzing, and all the people come to greet her.
I'm the king of the world!
And clearly he has built a wonderful life for himself, especially knowing that he came to our country in, he was a teenager. He couldn't even speak the language, and this is what he's done with his life. And this particular episode has Pascal looking much more vulnerable as a person than what we've seen before, because he's with his family and he does really open up a lot to Joan during this time.
He cried today.
He knows that he is very guarded. He talks about having his heart broken, which, unlike the rest of them that have been, telling us about their broken heart each and every week, we really never heard that much from Pascal about having his heart broken. And his kids mean a great deal to him. And you could see how much they love him as well.
She's great. The next step is to talk the logistic, how we're going to make this thing work.
But the thing that I like mainly about Pascal is that he has his own life. I don't feel that as much from the rest of them, unless they're just talking the game of their family. But Pascal, I felt that he's able to have a life apart from his family, but still enjoy having his family as part of his life, if that makes any sense. So I do have some notes I want to look at about his children. He's got his daughters, his sons, a grandson, and his best friend. And when he speaks with Joan, he tells her that he just needs some time. His heart has been broken. He just needs some time to build up trust. And, as someone who's been with men who have a really hard time opening up emotionally, I thought that this was very major in terms of, someone whose heart has been broken, and, someone who's not accustomed to, talking on a touchy-feely level. So I think, what he was saying to her was being very honest that, he has feelings, but he just needs a little more time to spend with her to build up his trust. And I like that. I will say when he talked with his son, he got teary and emotional. Pascal, like the other men, said that he really wanted his family to validate Joan And I guess maybe that's a reasonable thing to want. I'm at a disadvantage by not having children to know what it would feel like, really personally feel like, to somebody bringing home a new person that will become part of their family. And you worry about how your kids will respond. So I do see that it makes sense, but I also feel, if you want a love in your life, you need to accept and realize that this person has to have some stature in your family so that they feel that they're somewhere near the top in your list of priorities. I mean, for myself, when I got involved with someone, either long-term relationship or a marriage, I just accepted that I would never be number one when I was with a man that had children from previous relationships. Because you know what? Kids do come first. The issue I take is once your kids are grown and married, I think it's a mistake if you have them dictate who you have in your life, because they have their lives with their husbands and wives or partners and children. And even though you're still part of their life, I think you really deserve to have your own life. So I guess I'm getting off track here, which I will rein myself right in so I'm not that terribly boring to you. But at any rate, I think the date went well. I'm not quite sure that Joan feels that I think she's still with the thought that she's further ahead with her emotional state than Pascal is. But truth be told, each and every time we hear Joan with somebody, she'll come away or she'll bring up John or how this guy, whoever she's with, compares to John and the guilt she feels. And, she was with John so many years. And it gets to be a bit much, in my opinion, because again, unless this is all building up to Joan stepping away with no one because she finds out after all this she's just not ready, this may be a ploy for us to keep tuning in. I just feel that enough with talking about the dead people. I see dead people. You've had all these dates, you've had all these conversations, you brought it up. Why are you still bringing it up? I just find that every time she starts with that, I think, is this her way of sort of blowing people off? Could be. You know what? I'm still in love with my husband and nothing's wrong with you. It's all me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Anyway, he's become very loving, he being Pascal. And I think she just doesn't think he's ready. So while she's in Chicago, she meets Jordan, also from Chicago. I was never quite sure why she picked Jordan last week. I don't really feel that she's got that much of a connection with him.
He's got a real connection with Joan.
So they go out. Of course, they have deep dish pizza, which she loves, and rainbow cake. And then after that, he gives her, for both of them, to drink a shot of Malort.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's go.
Which was a drink that was the only drink the mayor in Chicago said you could drink during Prohibition because it's so vile. No, he figured nobody would drink it. So she takes a chug and thinks it's the worst thing she's ever put in her mouth.
Oh my God, it is the worst thing I've tasted in my entire life.
And I'm not going to go there. This is YouTube. Just leave it to your imagination as to the worst thing she's ever put in her mouth. Moving on. They get. Nasty Lois. Nasty. So now they get to Jordan's house and, with her thing on Jordan, she feels comfortable with Jordan. So his daughters are there. He says he's just not ready to tell her he loves her, nor is he ready to propose. His kids feel that he's still being very guarded. There's this conversation about how deeply he was hurt. Also, Joan at this point is talking to the daughters and she's saying, it's not enough for me to pick them. I'm afraid that, that your dad isn't going to pick me. And of course, the daughters want to reassure her and blah, 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 blah. But, I'm already seeing the setup with this. She really senses that he just isn't ready. But for some reason, she doesn't sense that maybe she's not ready. But that's for another episode, I think. So now, of course, I have maybe half a page to 1 page at most for everyone except for Chuck. Oh, God help us. So she gets down to Wichita, Kansas, and she arrives. She says, this one's important. And they really, it's very clear that each of them considered themselves to be this couple. He's got everybody. He's got friends. He's got family. And he even has the father of his late fiance. And there's a little oak tree that they are planting in memory of his deceased mother, who, may I remind you, as he talks about, she was the best mother and he loved her more than anybody in the world.
How proud I was of my mother, what a fighter she was, how much I loved her.
She's the same dying mother, and she was dying, that he left to go do this program. And as he previously stated, he would only do this for Joan, who he hadn't even met yet. And even though you have to say, yes, people have to go on with their lives, everyone involved when someone is in their final days, when they're in their final days. This is one of the reasons why I'm not buying Chalk being 100% genuine. So he, takes the shovel and throws some dirt in to plant this oak tree. He starts talking to his family and he's saying, and he starts crying again.
I started crying at the end.
And says, Joan is my rock. I got to tell you, you talk about exaggeration. Joan is my rock. Your rock for what? What have you gone through with her together? Please. What is all of this? These exaggerations. They're doing this memorial. I'm personally offended. They're doing this memorial for his mother. And they're all talking about Joan.
And Chuck, I'm so happy to meet Joan.
She would be happy to see this journey you are on.
That Chuck says the reason that she's loving, she's special, he's crazy about her. She loves family and he loves family. Chuck had a one-on-one with his would-be father-in-law. I just want to remind you, his fiance died, I think it was some 9 years ago. And it was very important for him to get the blessing of this man, which I think was honorable. And the father, is most gracious, giving him blessings, saying lovely things about Joan. Had to be very, very hard. As any of you know, when you lose someone, whether it's a parent or child, I can't speak for, because I think the pain has got to be just more than excruciating. But when you see that person, the survivor, take on someone new in their life, it hits you right here, because it solidifies the fact that the person you loved is gone. So it had to be particularly hard, and I have to give that elderly man a lot of credit for doing it, because I thought it was a big ask on the part of Chuck and the producers. And then he talks to his father, and he says, I just don't know. I don't know. And the father, his own father, says, listen, I see two people in love. And, that makes Chuck feel Oh, so much better. Daddy says he sees two people in love, not just him. God help us. God help us. And this just goes on. Everyone had just never seen him so happy. His grin is from ear to ear. So Chuck tells Joan, I'm falling in love with you. Chuck, you have, believe me, there is nothing you have done that doesn't say this over and over and over again. I mean, you're like a sick little puppy dog around her. And she eats this up. And she's just as kissy bear, huggy face as he is. He takes her to the car and the hugs and the kisses. I mean, you think that they're leaving each other forever. And that was the end of the hometown visits. And now we get back to the mansion, onto the rose ceremony. 4 guys, 3 roses. Joan says she has the deepest connection with Chuck. And she feels that Jordan, he doesn't say, he sees a future with her, and the same with Pascal. What she is afraid of, and she should be afraid, she's afraid that she's going to send somebody home because they're just not ready at the moment. And she might be sending someone home that could be a good partner for her. I mean, it's television. I don't know. When does any woman, and maybe you guys can tell me, but when does any woman have 4 guys all at the same time wanting to spend their life with her? So this is an odd situation to begin with. But, it's very clear she has her connection with Chuck. So, of course, who gets the first rose? Chuck! And he's just all, of course I'm going to get the rose, because I just feel like he's saying to himself, I got this. And I'm not sure he's going to get that in the end. And then she gives a rose to Guy, and then Pascal. So it's Jordan that's being sent home. And it's probably, I'd say in this situation, the right choice, because it seems like she has really no real connection with Jordan. And actually, I was kind of surprised that Jordan even made it to this week. I didn't think he would. So Jordan leaves unceremoniously. And of course, the first one out of the box, let's go get our big hugs and kisses, Chuck. And then we have Guy and Pascal saying their goodbyes. And now No More Mansion, we get a preview of next week when they go to Tahiti. And then, of course, the teaser is we don't know who it is, but we hear a voice say, I know what love feels like, and this isn't it. And you see Joan clearly in distress, racing to her room. So that's a hell of a teaser for next week. I'm really not sure what's my own feeling is it possible it could be Chuck after all this fanfare? Is it possible he's telling her this because he's testing her? He's jealous that she's spending so much time with the other guys, figures if he, sort of gives her the blow off that she's going to try harder. I don't know. But this is probably the most excitement I had watching this program, because I have to tell you, it really gets to be very repetitive. It's very predictable. I love seeing her fashion. She's got all different clothes on and, always looks absolutely terrific. She's a pretty lady to begin with, so it's hard, for her not to look good. But at any rate, that's my take on this episode. And let me tell you, let's look forward to the next one, because it's finally going to have a bit of a surprise. And that would be nice, because I tell you, it really, that 90 minutes, and there's a hell of a lot of commercials in that time, but that 90 minutes really feels very long. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your new subscribers, to getting us up at 1,000. Let's keep at it so we can keep going with that. I wish all of you a wonderful week. I want you to check out our description box where there's a link to our blog, and do hit the like hand. Subscribe if you haven't. Press the notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. And please share us with your friends and family. We'd love more people coming on, and continue those comments because I'm very interested in knowing what your take on this is. In the meantime, be well, God bless, and bye now.